So originally the plan was to make a video with the Democrats' best case scenario. And I had that video all drafted and everything. But then like this special election just happened and I was like, why not combine two potential video ideas into one? So um basically this video is just gonna be like it's a Democratic best case scenario, but like if their best case was a lot better. And basically, it's what if these results like held up going into 2026? Now, obviously, we're not going to see a D plus 20 national environment, even if these margins hand up. Like the most, probably the best, absolute top would be a D plus 15 here. Even then, that's not very likely either. I think D plus 10, max, we're probably going to see. Which even then, there's like a 2% chance of that happening at best. And so, in case you're wondering, why am I yapping about this random election in Iowa? So, the thing with this is this was Trump's. So, as we know, Trump got inaugurated 10 days ago. This was the first special election to happen since Trump got inaugurated. Like, we saw all the special elections happen before Trump got inaugurated. There were the few in Virginia. Those ones weren't too bad for Republicans, but they also weren't the most ideal. And we also saw the race in the New Orleans mayoral race. The Republicans flipped the New Orleans mayoral race. But then we saw this happen. For context, this was a Donald Trumpist 20, I think it was like a Donald Trump plus 21 congressional district, not congressional, state Senate district, won by 21 on the national level. Even Marionette Miller Meeks, who literally won her race by 601 votes, won the district by 8. So what happened here? Democrats, they won their race by about 4%. And yes, turnout very much down from turnout was pretty down from where it used to be. And by used to be, I mean in 2020. We take a look. I can't remember what county it's in. I think it's in the eastern county of the state. So and this it's like Scott County and Clinton County or Cedar County. I don't actually know where this is. Like we take a look at this general area. We have a 21 point margin, 18.8, 3.9. So that's your county flip. And then Muscatine County. Like all these counties, pretty Republican. Donald Trump won the district by about. We saw Democrats, they won this race. And it's also in part due to the Republicans putting up a very bad candidate. They got very complacent about this race. Well, Democrats actually ran a decent candidate. And obviously, uh, the elephant in the room turnout was down significantly. So what happens if a margin like this holds up in 2024? No, 2026. Sorry, I got my years confused. What would the Senate map look like if Democrats get their blue wave? Um, Controversy. If you don't like controversial predictions because you're a snowflake, kidding, but not really. This is your time to go away now. And my other time, disclaimer. Do I think this election will happen? No. Anybody who tells you this one stupid race, no offense, in a random district in the middle of corn is going to dictate the national environment and give a D plus 20 year? No. Don't be ridiculous. Anybody who says that is either delusional, a psycho, or a time traveler. Maybe the third one if they convince you that. But we're not going to see that year. So if you tell me in the comment section that we're going to see a D plus 20 year after reading the title, the description, the thumbnail, and this far into the video, expect to be yelled at because you're going to be yelled at. So let's get on. Okay, so let's just 1 second. Before that, I had to stop the video real quick. So for context, this is the Iowa State Senate map. This is the 35th district. In 2020, we see the margin. In the 35th district in Iowa, that's the state, Trump won by 13%, and then he obviously gained in the district. This is well, give me county maps. I have to figure this out. We see in Iowa, we see it's Clinton County, Jackson County, like that general area. So actually, let's go on the video. What happens if Democrats hold up that margin ish, and overall, what's going to happen? This is their best case scenario with also I'm going to add good candidates, bad candidates for the Republican Party, and overall just anything that can go bad for the Republicans will, anything that can go good for the Democrats will. Before you accuse me of being unbiased, go watch the other video. So for Democratic safe states, Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, I think New Jersey, Delaware, Virginia, New Hampshire, um, I think Rhode Island, Massachusetts. There are some states I am hesitating on in this situation. In a best case scenario, do Democrats win Maine in the best case scenario? That's a good question. Here's the thing with Maine, Republicans, on average, Republicans get about 45% of the vote. So realistically speaking, if Susan Collins does about 6% worse than she does in 2020, she still only loses the race by 8. She's not going to lose that much support. So I do think, even though this is a really, really good scenario, unless the Republican runs a primary challenge against Collins, well, if the Republicans run a primary challenge against Collins, I could see this actually being a safe state. So maybe in the best case scenario, it'll be safe, and then Michigan. For this to happen, do not need to nominate what's his name, Pete Buttigieg. He probably won't. Honestly, I don't think he will do pretty good in Michigan. John James could be a decent candidate. I think you nominate Mike Rogers. I think he runs again. He'd be a really good candidate. You would want to nominate someone like Christian McDonald Rivet. You would want to nominate her. You'd want to nominate Hillary Scholten because they've won in competitive districts. You don't want to nominate Tudor Dixon like at all. You do want to nominate Mike Rogers though. Definitely a lot better of a candidate. There are no polls yet. However, I do think Michigan in a good year, it could be safe. We go back to 2014. Peters won by 13.3 in a red wave year. Obviously, Michigan wasn't as competitive then. But Republicans also won the governorship in Michigan that year, so it's that. So right now, Democrats are up to 46 seats. Oh, also, I forgot Minnesota. I think Minnesota can be safe in this column. For safe Republican states, there aren't many. There's Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, and West Virginia. I think these states probably be pretty safe for the Republican Party. I don't think the Democrats realistically any shot in winning them. This is not 27. You could argue Alabama could go back to Doug Jones, but even then, I don't think it would take a lot more for Democrats to win Alabama in this case, which it's possible. I just don't feel like considering he lost by 20 in 2020, and we have to go back. This seat, Republicans have been doing pretty good in the seat, even in 2008. Sessions, very, very popular figure in the state. Obviously, he retires, and well, yeah. Take a look at this map, actually. I don't think we're going to see someone like, we're not going to see these three states probably flip. Could, but probably not. Uh, for the Republican Party, those are 39 seats. For the Democrats, likely states, I think, no, it's going to be, I think North Carolina and Georgia, I think they're the most likely to be likely states. I think in this case, you have to throw Iowa and Ohio into this column. If this margin told us anything, if the margin holds up, what else is happening in Iowa? Not to mention, Joni Ernst is extremely unpopular among the Trump base, so a bunch of them had just sit out. She also did very, very bad in 2020. Well, not very, very bad. We see no Democrats actually announced that they're going to run in this race. So if Democrats run against an independent, they can do pretty good in the state. Ohio, I think Sherrod Brown in Ohio. He has floated around running again, which is the only reason I really consider it. This is JD Vance's old seat. I don't actually know who he appointed for this seat. I forgot his name. Husted, John Husted. Jared Brown could get his old seat back, or even if he doesn't run, someone like Greg Landsmith, he could appeal to the Cincinnati. I think it's Cincinnati. There's Cincinnati, Cleveland, Toledo, Erie, Cleveland. Also that one. So many C's in Ohio. But that's not the point. We see Ohio, I think, realistically speaking, is probably not going to go blue. There's like a 10% chance at best it goes blue. In this case, however, if Democrats can keep their margin, I think they win. For Republicans' likely states, there aren't really many actually. I don't think there are. No, I don't think there are any likely states. Democrats lean states. Oh boy, this is going to trigger a lot of people. I think Texas, Florida, Nebraska, and Alaska. And oh my God, this video is going to be so controversial. I know it. I just know you guys are going to have a field day with this video. Let's take a look at Texas and Florida. If they run Paxton, I don't think Paxton is going to do very good. We even saw Cruz. He didn't even win by a million votes, which go back to 2018 and tell me that Cruz was going to win by 9 points. I would have called you crazy. Uh, take a look at Cruz. Texas is definitely taking a rightward shift in recent years, but it's also taken a huge leftward shift in recent years. I think all Democrats need to do is gain Biden margins in the if they can get Biden margins in the urban areas and get Rio Grande turnout, like the major counties, if they can flip back to the Democrats, I think Democrats can win the state. Also, turnout just needs to drop heavily for the Republicans because, as we know, Republicans do tend to be lower propensity voters. Florida is a lot less likely to flip. We take a look. This was Rubio's seat before he became Secretary of State. We saw in the 2026 special election, we see Ashley Moody is the appointee. Corey Mills would have been a really good candidate, though. If he wants to run, he could. We saw Ashley Moody, very, very good candidate, I would say. She's the attorney general, so she'd do very, very good in this place. And no Democrat has announced they're running, but if someone popular now runs, because I don't think there's anyone left in Florida to run, it'd be a one by about a million votes. Thinking a best case scenario, it does flip. Now, where are we left with these competitive seats? It looks very weird for this map to be like this in competitive seats. And you know what? Alabama is iffy. Do I want to move Alabama down to the lean likely column? You know what? If Democrats can get their margin hold up, sure. I'll move Alabama down to the lean column, likely column. For Democrats, Republicans, they're lean states. I think South Carolina, it doesn't flip. It would take a lot for a state like South Carolina to flip. The only way I see it flipping is if Joe Cunningham runs, because Lindsey Graham, so we saw Lindsey Graham only beat Harrison by about 10.3%, which is kind of a lot considering we go down all the way down here. So Lindsey Graham and Jamie Harrison combined raised about $250 million in South Carolina. Do you know how much of a waste that was to spend this much money in South Carolina? Ridiculous. Honestly, ridiculous. We took a look. And then also next guy. This is who would make the race a little competitive. I think Joe Cunningham. This is like a best case scenario. We took a look at Atlas redistricting. We take a look at no, it's the redistricting. Okay, we take a look at the redistricting tracker. It is no longer updating. However, we do see the old map. Republicans, so this was a R plus 14 congressional seat. Now it's a lot safer. It's an R plus 17 seat. So about 3 points more Republican. But we take a look at Joe Cunningham. So he won in 2018 against you might recognize the name Nancy Mace, maybe. We take a look. He flipped the seat, won up by 1.4 against I think this was the incumbent Arlington. Was not the incumbent actually. Lindsey Graham's honestly gonna get primaried out, but he could lose to like a very extreme Republican. Nancy Mace won, but he won in a R plus 14 congressional seat, meaning since it was a Democratic wave year, he did about 5 points better than he should have. He has crossover appeal. Honestly, he has a lot of crossover appeal. I think it could go down to lean, maybe. And then now these are all the states that are going to be competitive. I think we're going to see which states are actually. Let's take a look at lean Democratic tilt Democratic states. I think Louisiana, Kentucky, and Montana will be tilt Democratic states. Bear with me. Bear with me. So in Louisiana, they did get rid of runoff voting, which I do think it does favor Republicans, honestly. But if Republicans split their vote, because we take a look, this isn't actually the right seat. We need to go to a guy that is known very much for impeaching Donald Trump, Bill Cassidy. So Bill Cassidy impeached Donald Trump. He's probably going to face a primary challenge. We see currently John Fleming, the Louisiana state treasurer, is putting a bid against Bill Cassidy. I think he could win the race just because Republicans with Bill Cassidy, but you never know. A bunch of people might not want to vote. And especially someone like John Bell Edwards decides to run for the Democrats. It is potential. It probably won't happen, but if he does run, and this is what happened, has to happen. The margin needs to hold up. Oh shoot, I forgot to make Massachusetts a Republican state in the last video. Oops. My bad. And then for Montana and Kentucky. Kentucky, same story, but Andy Bashir. I don't think he's gonna run, but if someone like Jacqueline Coleman runs, especially against a very unpopular Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is one of the most hated senators in the entire country. However, we took a look at how much money was put into this race. The margin of how much money was put into this race is absolutely ridiculous. This was one of the most spent races just for Amy McGrath to lose by 19%, which, to be fair, 19% in Kentucky is not a bad margin at all. But if you put $3 million into this race, but at least you're not the Kamala campaign who spent $1 billion, lost by like a landslide on it, modern day landslide, and had debt. Now, I think Kansas is a tricky state because Laura Kelly has won by decent margins. And even though she has said she wouldn't run, I think if someone like Sharice Davids runs for the seat, Democrats have basically already shored up the Kansas City congressional district. We see Davis wins by 12. Before that, Davis won by 10. Before that, she won by 9.7. Before that, this was a pretty actually Republican seat that honestly she had no business winning in, let's be honest. So we see here, Democrats, wait, what seat? Oh, also Mississippi. Mississippi is going, I think Mississippi can be lean Republican. It's been competitive before in 2018. This is like the Democrats. They need if they can get like a D+10 year. This is what I think the map's gonna look like. Um, yeah, disclaimer, this is not what the map's going to look like.